What if I told you that time travel, real-time travel, has absolutely nothing to do with going backward or forward in time at all? What if the direction was wrong this whole time? What if every time travel story you've ever loved, from H.G. Wells to Doctor Who to Back to the Future, got the fundamental mechanism completely wrong from the very start? The truth is far stranger than fiction. You don't move through time. You move between worlds, parallel realities that exist alongside ours, right now, in the same space. And some of the most brilliant physicists alive today, working at the absolute frontier of quantum theory and cosmology, think this might literally be how reality actually works. In the next 15 minutes, you'll see exactly why time travel and parallel worlds might be the exact same phenomenon, described from two different perspectives. We'll trace this idea from Einstein's equations of general relativity, through Hugh Everett's many-worlds theory, to David Deutsch's revolutionary claim about quantum time loops and parallel timelines. We'll examine what happens when quantum mechanics meets closed time-like curves, and why the infamous grandfather paradox simply vanishes when you understand what's really happening. And we'll explore Max Tegmark's 4 levels of the multiverse, a stunning hierarchy of parallel realities that puts our entire universe into a breathtaking cosmic perspective. By the end, you may never think about time, or reality, or your place in the cosmos the same way again. So take a breath. Let's begin the journey. In 1915, Albert Einstein published his theory of general relativity, a radical description of gravity as the curvature of space-time itself, not a force between objects. His field equations showed that massive objects like stars and black holes warp the very geometry of space and time around them, bending light and slowing clocks. In 1949, Kurt Godel, the legendary logician who broke mathematics itself, found something deeply disturbing hidden inside Einstein's own equations. Godel discovered a universe model where rotating matter creates closed time-like curves, paths through space-time that curve back and return to their own starting point. Follow a closed time-like curve far enough, and you return to your own past. This was a mathematical proof that Einstein's own theory seemed to allow time travel. In the 1980s, Kip Thorne and colleagues showed that traversable wormholes, tunnels through space-time, could theoretically create these same closed time-like curves. General relativity, Einstein's masterpiece, seemed to permit time travel. The equations didn't forbid it. The universe, on paper at least, allowed loops in time. But here's the fundamental problem. If you can visit your own past, you can create paradoxes. The famous grandfather paradox is the simplest and most devastating example. Go back, prevent your own birth, and you were never born to go back. Classical physics has no clean way to resolve this contradiction. Time travel breaks causality itself. Physicists tried everything to banish these paradoxes from their equations. Igor Novikov proposed the self-consistency principle in the 1980s as one attempt. Novikov's principle says the universe only allows histories that are self-consistent. You can go back, but you can never change anything that would create a paradox. Free will vanishes. Stephen Hawking went even further. In 1992, he proposed the chronology protection conjecture, arguing that the universe actively prevents time travel. Hawking argued that quantum effects would always conspire to destroy closed time-like curves before they could form. The laws of physics, he insisted, protect history from paradoxes. But both solutions feel like bandages on a deeper wound. Novikov's principle makes the universe a tyrant that forbids free will. Hawking's conjecture remains unproven after 30 years, and neither addresses the really deep question. What kind of universe would even allow time travel in the first place? What structure of reality permits loops in time? Classical general relativity gives us the geometry of space-time. But geometry alone can't tell us what actually happens when a time traveler meets their younger self face-to-face. For that, we need quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics has a very different, very surprising story to tell about what time travel really is and where it takes you. A story that doesn't just solve the paradoxes. It dissolves them entirely by revealing that you were never traveling through time at all. You were traveling sideways. In 1957, a young Princeton graduate student named Hugh Everett III proposed something so radical that it would take decades to be taken seriously. Everett suggested that the Schrödinger equation, the fundamental equation of quantum mechanics, should be taken literally at all times, with no exceptions for all observers. When a quantum system is measured, it doesn't collapse into one state. Instead, all possible outcomes actually occur, each one in its own newly branching reality. Everett called this the relative state formulation. The world would later know it by its more famous name, the many-worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. In this view, every quantum event that has multiple possible outcomes creates new universes. Not metaphorically, not as a mathematical trick, but literally and physically. As Lev Vaidman explained in his 2022 review, Many Worlds removes action at a distance and randomness from quantum theory entirely, leaving only clean deterministic evolution. There is no collapse. There is no randomness. There is only the universal wave function, branching endlessly into every possibility that quantum mechanics allows. Most physicists initially rejected this. Everett's own advisor, John Wheeler, pressured him to tone it down. The theory was nearly forgotten for decades after his thesis. But by the 21st century, many worlds had become one of the most widely accepted interpretations among quantum physicists and quantum information theorists worldwide. In 1991, the physicist David Deutsch published a paper that would permanently change how we think about time travel and its relationship to quantum mechanics. Deutsch asked a simple but profound question. What happens when quantum information travels through a closed timelike curve? His answer was absolutely staggering. He proved mathematically that paradoxes simply don't occur. Not because they're forbidden by some rule, but because the time traveler who arrives is never the same one who departed. In Deutsch's model, when you travel through a closed timelike curve, you arrive in a different branch of the multiverse entirely. A parallel world, not your own past. You can kill your grandfather in that branch. It's not a paradox because he's not your grandfather. He's the grandfather of your parallel world counterpart, not you. The paradox vanishes completely because there is no single timeline to contradict. There are only branching worlds, each one internally self-consistent, each one whole. As Deutsch himself put it, time travel, if it exists at all, is travel between universes, not travel within one. The direction is sideways, not backward. This is why this video's title isn't clickbait. If Deutsch is right, you literally cannot travel through time within your own universe. You always leave and arrive elsewhere. Every time journey is a journey sideways, into a parallel branch of reality that happens to closely resemble your past, but exists in a completely different world. In 2003, MIT physicist Max Tegmark published a landmark paper organizing all parallel universe theories into a clean hierarchy of exactly 4 levels. Level 1 is the simplest. Our observable universe has a finite size. Beyond it, space likely continues infinitely, containing exact copies of our cosmic patch somewhere. Level 2 is the inflationary multiverse. Different regions of space experience different physical constants, creating universes with potentially different laws of physics entirely. Level 3 is Everett's many worlds. Every quantum possibility plays out across branching realities that never interact after splitting, each one equally real. Level 4 is Tegmark's mathematical universe, where every mathematically consistent structure exists as a physical reality, a staggering expansion of what we call existence. Deutsch's time travel takes place in the Level 3 multiverse. The branches are already there, created by every quantum event in all of cosmic history. When you travel to what feels like the past, you're accessing a Level 3 branch that diverged earlier. It looks like your past, but it exists in a different world entirely. Tegmark's framework reveals that parallel worlds aren't science fiction or fantasy. They emerge naturally and necessarily from our best, most tested physical theories. Time travel in this picture isn't engineering or machinery. It's navigation. You're not bending time. You're choosing which branch of reality to enter and experience. You might ask whether any of this is actually testable. Remarkably, some aspects of many worlds in Deutsch's model do have observable, testable consequences in principle. Don Page showed in 1999 that many worlds and single history theories can produce different predictions about cosmological observations and the measure of observers. Aronson and Watrous proved that computers using closed timelike curves could solve space-complete problems, the hardest class of computational problems in all of complexity theory. This means Deutsch's CTC model isn't just philosophy or speculation. It has concrete mathematical and computational implications that physicists can actually study and test. James Hartle's work on quantum gravity shows that spacetime itself may be emergent, arising from deeper quantum processes rather than being fundamental or primary. Carlo Rovelli and colleagues demonstrated that the arrow of time in quantum theory may be a feature of observers, not of fundamental physics itself at all. If time's arrow is observer-dependent, then traveling backward means accessing a reality where the observer's perspective and history are genuinely different from your own. None of this is settled science. Many physicists still prefer single-world interpretations. But the many-worlds framework keeps making surprising and testable predictions. The framework's greatest achievement may be this. It doesn't just explain time travel. It explains why time travel never creates paradoxes naturally and elegantly. Here's something remarkable that Deutsch's model predicts. If you send a quantum state through a closed timelike curve, you can perfectly clone it, something quantum mechanics normally forbids. The no-cloning theorem is one of the bedrock principles of quantum information. It says no physical process can perfectly copy an unknown quantum state. CTCs break this rule, but in the many-worlds framework, the clone isn't in your universe. It's in the branch you send it to. The no-cloning theorem holds within each branch, but not across the multiverse. This was demonstrated mathematically by researchers using Deutsch's CTC model. The cloning works because the original and the copy end up in different branches of reality. Aronson and Watrous took this even further. They proved that a computer with access to closed timelike curves could solve space-complete problems, the hardest problems in all of computer science. Space includes problems that would take longer than the age of the universe to solve on any normal computer. A CTC-enhanced quantum machine could solve them efficiently. This tells us something profound. If time travel is possible, and if Deutsch's many-worlds model of CTCs is correct, then the multiverse has extraordinary computational power. And it suggests that the structure of reality, the branching multiverse itself, might be the most powerful computer that could ever exist, if only we could access it. This is what Adrian Kent challenged in his critique. He argued that many worlds can't properly account for probability. The debate continues to this day, unresolved but fascinating. Carlo Rovelli and his colleagues made a discovery that adds another layer to this story. The arrow of time, the one-way flow from past to future, might not be fundamental at all. Their 2021 paper showed that the asymmetry of time in quantum mechanics comes from the observers, not from the physics itself. The equations are time-symmetric. This means the past and future are not fundamentally different. The distinction arises because we, as observers, have memories of one direction, but not the other. If the arrow of time is observer-dependent, then traveling to the past means entering a reality where the observer's memories and history are genuinely different from yours. This aligns perfectly with Deutsch's model. You don't reverse your own arrow of time. You enter a branch where the arrow points the same way, but the history is different. James Hartle's work on quantum gravity reinforces this. Space-time itself may be emergent, arising from quantum processes, not a fixed stage that events play out on. If space-time is emergent, then the very concept of traveling through it is secondary. The primary reality is the quantum state and its branching possibilities. Don Page showed back in 1999 that many worlds and single history theories can produce different cosmological predictions, making the question experimentally relevant. The arrow of time, emergent space-time, and parallel worlds all converge on one conclusion. Time travel, if it exists, is navigation through a multiverse of branching realities. So here's the radical picture that emerges from combining Everett's many worlds, Deutsch's quantum time loops, and Tegmark's multiverse hierarchy into one unified framework. Time travel, if it's physically possible at all, isn't a journey through a single timeline. It's a journey across the multiverse, sideways through branching realities. You never visit your own past. You visit a past in a branch that diverged from yours at some quantum event long ago, a world that looks identical but isn't. That branch's history looks identical to yours, up until the exact moment you arrive. Then it continues forward with you in it, creating new branches from there onward. Every choice you make in that branch creates new branches of its own. You're not rewriting history. You're adding to it, sideways, creating new worlds with every single action. This means the grandfather paradox was never a paradox at all. It was a category error from the start. You can't contradict a timeline you never belonged to in the first place. And it means every time travel story ever told, from Terminator to Back to the Future, described the wrong dimension of travel entirely. They showed time. The truth is worlds. They showed movement through time. The real story, if Deutsch and Everett and Tegmark are right, is movement between worlds, sideways through the multiverse, not through time at all. Time travel isn't about when. It's about which world. And the worlds are already out there, waiting, branching, infinite. Thanks for watching. See you in another branch.